Welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we're going to be looking at some of the newest releases from the Aeldari range of Warhammer 40k. These items have been provided by Games Workshop for the purpose of this video. So let's go ahead and start cracking. Now, the box for the Avatar of Khaine does not want to stand up very well, so I actually have it propped up, so it's just going to keep falling, so we're just going to set it aside for now. So we're going to start with the Shining Spears, and then once we're done with each video, once we're done looking at both of the boxes, then we're going to zoom in and take a close-up at the sprues themselves. Now, with the Aeldari and previously Eldar, as they used to be called when I actually used to have a small set of models from them way back in the day. During that time, there's always been one model. Let me rephrase. Really, two models that I've always really liked above all else in that range. The first one is the jet bikes, and I mean, they are sleek, they're really cool looking, and like some of the paint jobs I've seen out there are absolutely phenomenal and just make them look a lot of fun. So we do have the ones that came with the Kill Team Knockman, sorry, that didn't come with. Actually, I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a little while. But I was actually thinking of Eldritch Omens. So the jetbikes that came with that, I love the camel cloaks on that style. So this is a different variation of the jetbikes. So the Shining Spears. Now, I have not read anything about them in the codex. But let's go ahead and take a look. Now, we do have two, it looks like, okay, so they're not identical sprues, but half of the sprue looks very much the same from the other halves, and then we have the rest of the body on this half. Let's see, just holding it up for comparison. So yeah, so this half of the sprue does match that same half on the other side. So let's go ahead and, let's see, flip it this way. Okay, so what we have is two identical jet bikes, and then we have a third one, which this one has a couple of different items on the sprue that differ, specifically this head with kind of a ribbon coming off the back. That is not in place on the other ones. And actually, let's see, I saw one of the variations was him without a helmet, and actually all of the ones with the ribbon coming off the back do include the helmets. Okay, so we have nine total heads to choose from. So that means that you have two different variations for each one that you're going to use. So that means if you end up getting three of these boxes, you could actually, field all 9 variations. Looking at the packaging, I don't see any variations in the weaponry. I mean, they all kind of have that same lance and then the same guns on the actual jet bike itself. Now, with most of the Aeldari range, everything, all those models are very sleek, not a lot of detail, and so that's just kind of their general aesthetic. And so it's no surprising to see that that's the same here. Now, that being said, the helmets themselves is where they get most of their personality, as far as the detail. And some of these, I mean, they have enough detail on there. It kind of looks like almost like a death's head mask on some of these, and I mean it's not quite because it's missing the teeth, but I mean with a little tiny bit of black paint, you could easily make it look like that way. And when I get around to painting these, I probably will do something like that, just because they look so similar to that style that I was thinking of. Now, with the 9 different heads, we have 3 that have no helmets, we have 3 with kind of a feather plume, and then 3 with this kind of metal plume that they have. Kind of reminds me of Yondu's mohawk in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where normally most people that have a mohawk would have, the kind of the hair style, but he always had the kind of metal piece that he controlled his little weapon. I can't remember what it was called, but as far as these go, I mean, there is a lot of great detail on these heads, especially when you're looking at the hair coming off of them, and the ribbon. There's a lot of character to them because they're not all curved in the same shape, because you have 2 guys zipping by with ribbons coming off the back of their head. Those ribbons aren't going to be snapping the exact same way, so for these to all be different makes a lot of sense and definitely gives that added realism to it. So go ahead and set these over here. So we have our 3 clear bases, and depending on the height that you want for the bases, you have 3 sets of the 2 height stand pieces. We have the Aeldari Craft Worlds transfer sheet, and then we have our assembly guide. And it looks like there's another slight variation, which I did forget about, on the jet bikes themselves. You have let's see, it looks like one of them, and that's actually this one right here, gives you the ability to change this little piece right here to, or for the X-Arc, where the rest are going to be more the Shining Spears. So the X-Arc, I'm guessing, is like the captain or lieutenant, something along those lines. And then, as usual, we have the great detail of their multi-toned assembly guides. I love the way that they do these assembly guides these days, because back in the day when I first started in the hobby, if you got an assembly guide, it was basically just a sheet where everything was kind of put together on there, and in some pieces it was very hard to tell like how to see where this piece is going to sit, how it's supposed to sit, where with this, because they use the different tones, you can see exactly how everything fits together. The last piece you use, how it should look together, and then the pieces that are coming on to join it. And I haven't seen anyone else do that same kind of assembly guide style, but that being said, out of all of the ones that I've seen, this is definitely my favorite style, just because of the fact that it shows you how it's supposed to look, and some of the different angles on there as well. All right, so now the Avatar of Khaine. So like before I was saying, there are 2 main models that I've always really enjoyed. The first one being the jet bikes, the second one being the Avatar of Khaine. And the previous Avatar of Khaine was one of those models that was kind of on my list to get eventually, because I always wanted to have him. And then they showed the pictures for the new version, and I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it made the old one look like junk in comparison. I mean, this model is absolutely fantastic. Now, since I'm not a Daughters of Khaine player yet, I hope to be one day because I love their aesthetics. They've always worshipped the god of murder, Khaine, as well. And so looking at the back, we don't see anything for Age of Sigmar on here, but the style of this variation with the axe and everything, honestly, to me, looks like it would fit very well in Age of Sigmar. Now, if that means that there might be some rules in here that allow you to use it in Age of Sigmar, kind of like what you can do with Be'lakor. This is just pure speculation. As you can see, it's still wrapped. I haven't looked inside, so I don't know what we're going to be getting into until we get to that point. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this is just another aesthetic that you can pick. If you don't want to go with the standard lance or spear, rather, and you'd rather have the axe, like me personally, or there's also the sword. So there's 3 variations. The axe is by far my favorite, just because the Lord of Murder, or the God of Murder, rather. I would see him using something that's going to be much more brutal and bloody, and so the axe, I think, fits that a lot better. And so if there is not a Age of Sigmar variant in here, going with one of the helmets, I would probably say this style is my favorite. But at the same time, could easily take this one, make it some sort of like marble statue or something like that, and use that as a terrain piece to kind of be themed around Daughters of Khaine. And from what I'm told, the next battle tomes that we're going to get for Age of Sigmar, one of them is actually going to be the Daughters of Khaine. So we very well might see some rules in there for this if this doesn't already have them to start with. But again, this is pure speculation. I have not heard anything in that regard. All right, so just opening up the instruction guide for the assembly, and there are only rules for 40K in here. So my assumption was correct, but just looking there, look at all of that incredible detail on the body itself, and where most of the Aeldari models are kind of lacking in detail, very smooth, very polished, and the Avatar of Khaine just detail wise outshines everything. And on top of that, I've never seen the Avatar of Khaine in action until last week's, at the time of filming, that was last week's battle report on Warhammer Plus. By the time this airs, we'll no longer be in the embargo period, and so that would have been 2 or 3 weeks ago. So in that episode, the Aeldari were getting slaughtered in that battle report, and then to see the Avatar of Khaine come in and just wreck everything. I wouldn't say that watching it in action converted me to play Aeldari, but it's gotten me a lot closer than anything else has over the years. And typically I've always been one to collect a couple models here and there from each army and paint them up how I see fit. But with everything that has come out recently for the Aeldari, the Nachmund kill team, the Eldritch Omens, the individual items that we unboxed a couple weeks ago. You know, all of those things will make for a really awesome looking army. And I think since we do have the Avatar of Khaine now, I think that it's time that I finally start playing Aeldari for the first time. And you know, even when, you know, they were Eldar way back, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s, you know, I never really had much interest in playing them. I had a couple models, but that was it. Now, for the Avatar of Khaine, we have a single base, which is to be expected. And then we have one sprue, which honestly surprised me. I was expecting, you know, like one of these sprues and maybe like another partial sprue, just because of all of the detail on there. Did not think that we were going to get it all on one actual sprue. But I mean, looking at the base, and again, we'll do a close up here in a minute. There's so much detail just on the base alone. And then you have the sword, you have the axe, the spear, all of them were just full of detail. And I mean, even his body is just covered in detail. I mean, it looks like it's covered in scratches and scars. I mean, if you did not think that the you know, the name implied that this guy was going to be some sort of warrior, I mean, looking at his battle scarred body would definitely convince you otherwise. And then, you know, the details with the flames coming off, actually coming out of the cuts. I mean, blood's like lava. And I mean, again, the detail on this is just absolutely fantastic. And this is, in my opinion, the best Aeldari release I have ever seen. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. The detail is just outstanding. And I really can't wait to get this built and painted, because this is going to be so much fun to do. All right, so these are the first two of the jet bikes for the Shining Spears. And as we can see right here, we have one of the heads. And then here's the other sprue. The bulk of the heads are all right here, as well as the hand weapons. And then the other jet bike. And then we have the Avatar of Khaine. Oops. Just realized that my shadow is blocking a lot of that. Just zoom in a little bit closer. And then we'll turn the sprue over so you can see the other side as well. But just so much detail. And just this piece of flame right here as well. Looks fantastic. And here's all the, you can see the pitting and the scars all over the body. And the skulls and the fire. And they've really, really outdone themselves with this release. And then, I mean, look at just all the detail on the tile floor that's been cracked. And I mean, this is going to look fantastic if you can do some sort of like marble effect on there. But other than that, as always, thank you guys for watching, and we do really appreciate it. I know that some of you have been commenting lately, and we will try to answer every question that comes through. And those that have provided us some constructive feedback, I thank you for that. You know, I definitely you know, take that to heart, and my goal is to make this show as good as we can with what we have. So, you know, please keep that feedback coming, because anything that we can do to improve is only going to make the show better, make it more enjoyable for you guys, and in the end, that's definitely what I want to achieve here. So again, thank you guys all for watching. Thank you to those that have liked and subscribed, and also been commenting. Really appreciate it. So thank you guys.